I didn't fall. I was corrected. That's what they wanted everyone to believe while they stared at my face and avoided my eyes. Before you judge, pause for a second. If you were standing where I stood, would you speak or would you swallow it too? Birthdays are supposed to soften people. Mine sharpened them. I had turned 42 that morning, and I woke up with the quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, this year would feel different. No grand surprises, no speeches, just warmth, just belonging, just the simple feeling that I mattered in the room I built with my own hands. I moved through the house slowly, the way women do when they've learned not to make noise with their expectations. Flowers on the counter, voices in the kitchen, laughter that didn't include my name. I told myself not to read into it. Tell me, how many times have you argued with your own instincts just to keep the peace? By the time everyone gathered in the living room, my chest already felt tight. Family, friends, my husband standing too straight, my son standing too proud, his wife standing too close to him, like a shadow that had learned to smile. Then the whispers started. Not words, just looks, tiny movements, a stillness that didn't feel celebratory. I caught my reflection in the glass frame behind the cake, and the truth hit me before anyone spoke. A black eye, dark, loud, impossible to ignore. The room went quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't comfort, it accuses. My heart raced, not from the pain in my face, but from the realization that everyone had already decided what story they were going to tell themselves. And then my son spoke. Not angry, not confused, proud. My wife put her in her place, he said, like he was announcing a promotion. She finally shut her up. That sentence landed harder than the bruise. If that shocked you, sit with it. If it didn't, ask yourself why. His wife smiled. Not wide, not obvious, just enough to let me know she'd won something she believed was hers to win. Power has a smell, and I could taste it in the air. I wanted to scream. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to ask when love turned into permission. But instead, I stood there, cake shaking in my hands, realizing something terrifying and clarifying at the same time. Silence had trained them. I asked my son to explain himself, not loudly, not weakly, just clearly. Explain why hurting your own mother felt justified. Explain why respect, in your mind, needed fists and fear to exist. He shrugged, actually shrugged, like the answer was obvious, like I was the one being dramatic. He said I talked too much. He said I crossed lines. He said his wife warned me. Let me ask you something, and don't rush your answer. When did love start needing warnings? Before I could respond, my brother stepped forward, the quiet one, the one who watches everything and speaks when it matters. His voice wasn't raised. It didn't need to be. Authority doesn't shout. He asked my son if he even understood the word respect, not the version built on intimidation, but the kind built on restraint, the kind that protects, not punishes, the kind that doesn't leave marks. The room changed. You could feel it. Guilt crept in where pride had been sitting comfortably. Eyes dropped, backs stiffened. That's the thing about truth. It doesn't rush. It arrives and waits for you to catch up. My brother reminded everyone who I was before I became convenient to disrespect. A mother who sacrificed quietly. A woman who held a family together without applause. A person, not a problem to be managed. Then he said the sentence that cracked everything open. He said power taken through cruelty always demands more blood, and one day it turns on the hand that feeds it. Watch how people react when the mirror is turned toward them. That's where the real story lives. My husband finally spoke. His voice was calm, but it carried weight, the kind of weight that says enough has already been lost. He didn't defend me with excuses. He demanded accountability. From our son, from his wife, from the room. An apology was offered. Awkward, uneven, not wrapped in humility, but forced out by pressure. Forgiveness didn't rush in. It rarely does when wounds are fresh. But something else arrived. Instead, clarity. Here's the part people don't like to hear. The revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't involve walking out or screaming or breaking plates. It was watching the confidence drain from faces that expected me to crumble. It was holding my posture while my son realized strength doesn't look like domination when it's exposed to light. It was understanding that dignity, once reclaimed, terrifies people who benefited from you losing it. If you're still watching this, ask yourself why. Is it the shock or is it the recognition? I didn't blow out my candles with a wish. I made a promise that I will never again trade my silence for peace that only others enjoyed, that I will stop shrinking to make space for egos that didn't deserve it. If you've ever been disrespected by someone who should have protected you, don't skip this part. Sit with it. Comment if you've lived it. Even one word is enough to break the isolation. That day taught me that family doesn't excuse harm, titles don't justify cruelty, and love that demands pain is not love, no matter how often it shows up at your table. Healing didn't happen instantly. It's still happening. Boundaries had to be drawn, distance had to be respected, and for the first time in a long time, I chose myself without apologizing. When I finally smiled that night, it wasn't for the room. It was for the woman who stood up without raising her voice, for the woman who learned that survival is not the same as living. If this story stirred something in you, don't keep it quiet. Engage. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Stay connected here, because stories like this don't end when the candles go out. They begin when the silence does. And tell me, honestly, what would you have done if you were standing where I stood?